While this podcast isn't rated explicit, the content may not be suitable for younger listeners. Welcome to Sex for Saints, the Christian couple's guide to great sex. I am your host, certified sex and marriage coach, Amanda Lauder. This is episode 324, Are Devices Hurting Your Sex Life? Welcome to Sex for Saints, a podcast for Christian couples. My goal with this podcast is to help enlighten, educate, and inspire you to understand yourself, your spouse, and your sexuality better. I talk about sex in a way you probably haven't heard before. I'm bold, I'm direct, but I keep everything in line with my strong Christian values. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. So happy to have you here. Did you have a good 4th of July? I hope you did. My husband and I were camping and fishing, still are. We always go away for our anniversary, which is right before July 4th. And so it's our little getaway over the 4th every single year. And I love it. I love it so much. I love spending time with him in that way. So I hope you had a happy 4th. If you are not aware, if you're new here, I do have some openings in my couples coaching, and I have some openings left for my couples retreat in September, September 11th through 14th in Las Vegas. This is probably going to be the only retreat I'm going to do for a while. I'm most likely not going to be doing my women's retreat in February because I've got some other obligations that are going to be around that time. I'll make the announcement about that later. But so if you are wanting a retreat, this is going to be a great one. It's so amazing. It's for couples who maybe have a decent foundation, but really just need to go deeper into intimacy and fix a few issues. This retreat really isn't for couples who are on the brink of divorce. It's really just for couples who just need to go deeper to find that intimacy and connection. It's an amazing retreat. We had such a great one last year, and I think it is totally worth your time. So if that's something you're interested in, then you can go to my website, either couples coaching or the couples retreat. Go to amandalauder.com and click on get help or events and see what's going on there and get signed up. I would love to have you. All right, so today we're going to talk about a topic that's becoming increasingly relevant in our digital age: how devices are hurting our marriage and our sexual relationship. So research indicates that devices are now the third leading cause of divorce in the United States. This is a staggering statistic, highlighting just how pervasive the issue has become. But why are devices having such a detrimental impact on our relationships? Well, first, let's consider why we turn to devices in the first place. Devices offer an escape. They provide endless entertainment, social connection, and even a sense of accomplishment through games and social media interactions. However, this escape comes at a cost. So when we prioritize our screens over our partners, we sacrifice meaningful real-life connections, particularly with our spouses. So one of the most significant issues is the time spent on our phones or tablets instead of with our partners. It's easy to get lost in the latest social media feed, news update, or game, but this often means we're neglecting the person sitting right next to us. So picture this. If you come home from work and instead of having a meaningful conversation with your spouse about your day, you both sit in silence, absorbed in your respective devices. Over time, this lack of communication can lead to feelings of isolation and resentment. For example, I remember one couple sharing how they would spend their evenings sitting next to each other, but engaged in their phones, barely speaking a word. They felt distant and disconnected, even though they were physically close. And this is a really common scenario that many couples face today. Another problematic behavior is reconnecting with old friends, old acquaintances, old boyfriends, girlfriends through social media. So while reconnecting itself isn't inherently bad, it can sometimes lead to emotional or even physical infidelity. What starts as a harmless chat can quickly become a secretive and intimate exchange, pulling emotional resources away from your marriage. So take the story of John and Lisa, for example. John reconnected with an old high school girlfriend on Facebook, and what began as casual catching up slowly turned into more frequent and intimate conversations. And Lisa felt betrayed and hurt when she discovered these exchanges, as John was sharing very personal details with someone else instead of with her. Another issue is turning to pornography or games. Now, these can become very unhealthy distractions that take away from the intimacy and connection with your spouse. Pornography can create unrealistic expectations about sex and reduce satisfaction with your real life sexual relationship. Gaming, on the other hand, can consume hours and hours of time and attention, making it difficult to engage meaningfully with your partner. For instance, Sarah noticed her husband Mark was spending hours playing online games every evening, and their conversations dwindled and their sex life suffered. Mark's gaming became a barrier to their intimacy, leading Sarah to feel very neglected and frustrated. So why do we turn to devices instead of our spouses? Sometimes it's just simply easier. Devices don't demand emotional effort or vulnerability. They provide quick, easy gratification, but this ease comes as a significant cost. By avoiding the harder work of engaging with our spouse, we're undermining the foundation of our relationship. Turning to devices can also help us avoid intimacy. So real intimacy requires effort and vulnerability and sometimes uncomfortable conversations. It's not always easy, but it's crucial for healthy, fulfilling relationships. Devices can act as a shield, protecting us from the effort and vulnerability required for true intimacy. So it's really important to look at your own motivations. Are you just getting sucked in? What are you avoiding? That could be the real question. What are you avoiding? So to paint a clear picture, let's look at the possible impact of each of the issues that I have just gone over. So first, engaging with phones rather than spouses. This can lead to feelings of neglect and loneliness. Your partner might feel like they're competing with your phone for attention, which can diminish their sense of importance in your life. For example, Tom often felt ignored when his wife Maria would spend their evenings scrolling through social media. His attempts to start conversations were met with distracted nods and half-hearted responses, making him feel unimportant and unseen. Number 2, reaching out to old friends or acquaintances or boyfriends, girlfriends. This can create emotional infidelity. Sharing intimate details with someone else can make your spouse feel betrayed and erode the trust in your relationship. So think about Emily, who discovered that her husband was confiding in an old college friend about their marital issues instead of talking to her about them. And this revelation deeply hurt Emily and created a significant rift in their trust. And number 3, turning to porn or games. So this can lead to unrealistic expectations and a lack of real life engagement. It can diminish your sexual satisfaction and reduce the quality time you spend with your partner. So Jake's use of online porn created unrealistic expectations for his sexual relationship with his wife, Laura. She felt pressured to meet these unrealistic standards, which damaged their intimacy and led to feelings of inadequacy. So what can we do to change our behavior? Well, it starts with awareness and intentionality, right? But that's always the first step, is awareness and then being intentional about how you want to change. So here are some steps you can take. First, set boundaries. So establish clear boundaries for device usage. For example, no phones at the dinner table or in the bedroom, and make specific times of the day device free to encourage real interaction. Now, if you are the spouse who is wanting your spouse to stop this behavior, I would not just unilaterally try to set this boundary. I would really talk to them and talk about why it's a concern for you and see if if they will agree to this setting boundaries. But what I think is even better is if you are realizing that this behavior is yours and it's something you need to change, is to set personal boundaries for yourself about how much time and attention you're going to be spending on devices. Not during the dinner table, not in bed when you can be talking to your spouse, spending some, tech-free time away from it. Maybe setting limits on your phone so that you're not just sucked in and don't realize how much time you're spending. All right, the second is prioritize quality time. So make it a habit to spend quality time together without devices. So plan regular date nights or simply set aside time each evening to talk and connect. The third is to communicate openly. So discuss your concerns with your spouse, talk about how device usage is affecting your relationship, and work together to find solutions. So one couple I know decided to implement a tech-free Tuesday where they would put away all devices for the evening and just focus on each other. And this simple change significantly improved their communication and connection. I know that there have been many times where, my husband and I get into bed and we immediately get on our phones, and that diminishes our connection and talking and even sex. So really, not picking up your phone as soon as you get into bed can be a real game changer. So if you've noticed that your spouse's behavior with the device is hurting your marriage and sexual relationship, it's really important to talk to them about it. When approaching your spouse, it's important to be gentle and understanding, avoiding blame, and instead focusing on how you feel. So using I statements can be helpful, such as I feel lonely when we don't spend time together, or I miss our conversations, not, I miss you when you're on your phone all the time. So, because we don't want to blame, we don't want to turn our I statement into an attack, right? So suggest working together to find a balance that works for both of you. How can you reconnect after devices have been a problem? So once you've talked about how you wanted things to change, sometimes that reconnecting can be kind of challenging, but it's definitely possible. So here are some tips. Number one, rebuild trust. If there's been emotional infidelity or secrecy, work on rebuilding that trust. Be very transparent and honest with each other. Being transparent really builds that trust. You need to be overly honest, overly share, and be overly transparent to help rebuild that. Second, increase physical intimacy. So make an effort to increase the physical affection and intimacy. Small gestures like holding hands, hugging, or cuddling can help rebuild that connection. And then number three, seek help if you need it. So a lot of times these issues are really ingrained and difficult to resolve on your own. And so some help is needed, whether that's individual help or couples help. I know that I get a lot of women in my membership that are frustrated by their spouse's usage of porn or gaming, and they feel very disconnected. And so sometimes we just need a little bit of help to help us know how to have these conversations, to help us know how to stop. A lot of times when we're using these devices as buffers, which means we're avoiding certain emotions that we don't want to feel. Maybe it's avoiding how difficult intimacy is and the vulnerability, or maybe it's trying to avoid the stress you're feeling or something like that. And really working on emotional regulation and being willing to feel those hard emotions is important. And this is one of the very first things that we do in coaching is learn about emotional regulation and learn how to feel those hard emotions so that we're not buffering and we're not doing things that are actually going to take away from our relationships. I was talking to one of my clients this week, and she was feeling some hard emotions, and it actually wasn't about like devices or her spouse. It was just something else. And she was like, I immediately went for the peanut butter and Oreos. And I was like, girl, I feel you. Love me some peanut butter and Oreos. But then I asked her, how do you feel afterwards? And she was like, well, it feels good for a minute, right? But then I feel worse because I still feel the emotion that I was trying to avoid. And I have eaten all this food that doesn't make me feel good and is not really conducive to the healthy lifestyle that I want to live. And I'm like, yes. And devices can be the same way, right? We are trying to escape these emotions, but we're not actually escaping them forever, just temporarily. And then a lot of times we're also creating a host of other problems, like, hurting our relationships in the meantime. So devices are a really powerful tool, but they shouldn't come at the expense of our most important relationships. So being mindful about our device usage and prioritizing our spouse, we can strengthen our marriages and improve our sexual relationships. Remember, the effort you put into your relationship will pay off in deeper intimacy and a stronger connection with your spouse. All right, my friends, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me. Make sure you share this, right? It's so helpful when you share this with your spouse, with friends, with family. They need it too. All right, remember, love is a journey, not a destination. Stay committed, stay passionate, and stay connected. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. If you want to learn how to apply what I teach you on this podcast, I want to invite you to work with me in my Embrace You coaching programs. In my coaching programs, I teach you all of the skills and tools you need to have a better relationship with yourself, your spouse, and your sexuality. You also get weekly coaching to help you apply what you are learning in your own relationship. For more information, go to amandalauder.com and click Get Help in the menu to see my programs for both men and women. Like what you're hearing on this podcast? Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Don't forget to leave me a review and share it with your friends.